There's an old Jewish story. I can't remember where I first heard or read it. The story is now deep in my bones, and it usually surfaces in me at some point during the 12 days of Christmas, reminding me of the hope which springs forth from the manger. Once upon a time, there was a monastery with a long history of commerce and a thriving spiritual community. But as time wore on, fewer and fewer villagers visited the hallowed halls of this monastery. Fewer people turned to the monks who inhabited the monastery for advice. Even the sale of their famous wine began to dwindle. The abbot began to despair for his community. What should they do, he wondered. They prayed daily for guidance, but the brothers only became more dispirited. The monastery itself reflected their mood, becoming shabby and untidy. At last, the abbot, hearing that a wise Jewish rabbi was visiting, swallowed his pride and went to visit the rabbi to ask for his advice. The abbot and the rabbi visited for a long time. They talked about their respective religions and the fickleness of human nature. The abbot explained his problem to the rabbi and asked him for advice, but the Jewish sage only shook his head and smiled. As the abbot sadly departed, the rabbi suddenly rose and shouted after him, "Ah, but take heart, my friend, for the Messiah lives amongst you." All the way home, the abbot pondered the rabbi's words. The Messiah lives amongst you? What could he mean? Did the Messiah live in the abbey? The abbot knew all the brothers very well. Could one of them really be the Messiah? Surely he, the abbot, was not the Messiah. Was it possible? Upon reaching the monastery, the abbot confided the rabbi's words to another brother, who told another brother, who was overheard telling another brother. Soon the whole abbey heard the wonderful news. The Messiah lives amongst us. Who do you suppose it could be? As each brother speculated on who the Messiah could be, his view of his brothers began to change. Brother Louis no longer appeared simple, but rather innocent. Brother Jacques was no longer uncompromising, but rather striving for spiritual perfection. The brothers began to treat each other with greater respect and courtesy. After all, one never knew when he might be speaking to the Messiah. And as each brother discovered his own words were taken seriously, the thought that he might become the Messiah would cross his humble mind. And he would square his shoulders and attend his work with greater care. And he started acting like a Messiah. Soon the neighboring villagers began to notice the change which had come over the monastery. The brothers seemed so happy, and villagers flocked to the monastery and were energized by the spirit of the brothers. And so the spirit grew and the monastery flourished. As each new brother was welcomed, the question arose, could he be the Messiah? Apparently, this monastery still prospers to this day, and it is often whispered both within its walls and in the surrounding towns and villages that the Messiah lives amongst them. As you continue to celebrate Christmas this year, remember that the Messiah lives among us. May the Holy One, who is love, continue to live and move in, with, through, and beyond us all, as we usher in a very happy New Year. Shalom, dear friends. Shalom.